Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another round of Picks. And this time we're live. So, as always, I'd like to subscribe to a friend, colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It is appreciated. Now, this is probably going to be a pretty long stream. There's a lot of cards to get through, um, a lot of undercards to talk about, a lot of interaction to give to the chat, to the people. But I just want to say thank you everyone who is joining in. This isn't a usual day and it's something a little bit different, so I appreciate you for coming through. So yeah, hit that like button if you are able to. um I can see first one in the building, baby Carme. Shout out to you, thank you very much for being here. um Hope you're doing good. I wonder, you just started work, you just about to finish? Or you probably just be starting it right now, isn't it? Philip, number one in the building, as always. All right, I guess I could make today. Yeah, I said it would be early enough. A shout out to man like North Bank, Bren in the building as well. Salute to you, Brendan, my guy. Salute. All right, so um, okay, so Karma's just started work. Well, look, I hope you have a stress-free day, and I hope that I can help make some of the time go by a little bit quicker. Yeah, there's a lot of cards to get through, so I'm gonna kind of just start now. Let me go to all right, so we're gonna start obviously with the ones on Friday, and I don't actually know all of these off the top of my head, so get up the good old box rec. um Actually, you know what, while since I'm actually on this one on my box rec anyway, the Dimitri Salita promotions card. Now, admittedly, I don't know many of the people on there except for Aaron Aponte. He's the only name I recognize. Um, Obviously, I've heard a lot about Stanley Wright, 34-year-old. Haven't seen him fight, so this would be a good one for that. Brandon Moore, I do know a little bit about Brandon. I have seen him fight before. What fight was it that it was the Torres fight? I think that was the only I saw that fight, and I think is it Elijah McCall or Robert Sims? It was one of those fights I also saw. Um, but I'm pretty sure that at one point, Moore and Torres were like the two guys that were I guess, the talk of top ranks heavyweight division, and it was about which one of them was going to get the call. So that was interesting. Obviously, Richard Torres won that one fifth round KO. I remember that fight, pretty good fight. But Stanley Wright, I guess this is his chance. IBF USBA, so I guess the equivalent of um, maybe our British English title, maybe Commonwealth, something along those lines. So yeah, I'm interested to see this fight. I've got no prediction because I don't know. I don't know enough about Stanley, and obviously I've only seen Brandon Moore in a losing effort and then a not so great effort besides that. So I'll reserve judgment on that one. Franchon Cruz, I do expect her to beat Citlali Ortiz 4-1 versus Franchon, who's 9-2. Um, I feel bad for Franchon Cruz because no matter what she does, no matter when she wins, she just can't get fights. It's like she fights once a year, and that's about as much as she can get out. And she's very marketable and like very personable. So it's just a shame that she only gets to fight once a year. Now maybe she's got other ventures, obviously her designing, modeling, all that stuff, and the singing. So maybe she only wants to fight once a year, or she's content doing that now as opposed to before. But I'd like to see her a little bit more active. Admittedly, even though there's not many people in those weight classes. But all right, so that's all I'll really say about that card. Now let's look at this Josh Kelly card, because I be honest with you, I've not kept up with anything of this card whatsoever. So let's see who he's. Right, so I know obviously his fight is Flavius Bayer. Let's see who else is on this card. So, okay, so Cyrus Pattinson's on the card. Lucas Rohrig's on the card. Okay, shout out to Lucas. Oh yeah. Oh, Jahan Ingram as well is on the card. And Matty Harris against Dan Garber. Okay, cool. Right, so in that case, let's talk about right. So Jahan Ingram, um, I mean they're kind of giving him a layup fight here, 6-0 against 3-15-1. So no point even really talking about that. Jahan's a really good fighter. I hope he gets a decent level contract after. Signing to Wasserman, I don't think is the case. So someone needs to sign him for those lower divisions. But yeah, no point talking about that. The Dan Garber against Matty Harris one will be interesting. Now I'm expecting Matty Harris to win that, and I'm expecting him to win it quite early. I'm thinking maybe the third round. Um, but one thing about Dan Garber, he will give it a go, but he just hasn't got that punch resistance anymore. And I think someone like Matty Harris, with the fluidness and the bit of the long punching that he exhibits, I think he will definitely get him out of there a lot quicker than Hughie Fury did. So I'm expecting 2 to 3 rounds, and that fight should be over. Uh, Lucas Rohrig. If all of you don't know, Lucas is obviously a new cruiserweight prospect over in the UK. I famously saw him do some really good rounds with Jaya Patar in sparring. It was very competitive, very nice. I heard nothing but good things from the sparring before then. I've heard good reports from people like Craig Richards, who he sparred as well, a couple others. So he's 4-0, trying to get to that 5-0 route. He's facing Sofian Kuit, who let me see. I've never seen him fight. Let's see if there's any names I recognize on his. Uh, nope, I don't recognize anyone on his record. And in his career, he's faced one, two, three, four, five. Well, he's fought five people with winning records, but the last one that had a winning record was 5-4, and he got a split decision draw with that guy. So, okay, so I'm gonna go with Lucas Rohrig via stoppage. Um, I think that jab, if he keeps that jab popping as I expect him to do, I reckon that will be a fairly comfortable, straightforward fight for him. Still growing, still developing. So yeah, um, let's see. Right, Cyrus Patterson versus Joe Garside. I don't know anything about Joe, so let me take a look at this. 8-1-3. Joe the Ghost Garside. His last three fights were points draws, all three of them. If he was the away fighter, I'm gonna assume that probably means that he won those fights. But he got knocked out by James Flint, which is saying a lot because James don't get knockouts. All right, so I'm gonna go with Cyrus Patterson for that one. 7-1. I'm gonna go for the stoppage, and I'm gonna go for the stoppage around about. It's an 8 rounder, so let's go 6 rounds. Um, Base, did you see the Jaya Pattaya sparring at Dale Youth? No, it wasn't at Dale Youth. It was at Churchill's. I think it was Churchill's gym. Yeah, when Jai came over, just before, what fight was it? It was just before he was going to fight. What's his name? Jack Massey came over. Yeah, came over for some sparring then, and it was that time. But they was fighting at Churchill's, the one um, near Lambeth Tube Station. No, it wasn't the David Naika fight, Philip Hans. It was just before the Jack Massey fight. He came over to the UK, did some sparring, and I that's when I saw him. So, but yeah, it was, and I've got footage of it. Um, Yeah, I didn't. I've got some footage of it, which was it was some really good stuff. Never released it. I've still got it. They said I could. They said I could pull it out if I wanted to. But yeah, it was just some good rounds. But the thing is, I don't think I. No, actually, I don't have the sparring from Jai and Lucas Rohrig. I had the sparring from Jai and the other partner that he went in there with afterwards. Uh, I think it might have. Was it Bomber? Was it? It might have been Bomber Brown. I could be wrong on that. I'll have to get Danny Glover to remind me, but I think it might have been Bomber Brown that he was sparring with. Um, but yeah. Anyway, so Cyrus Patterson, so that's that. Right, so Josh Kelly, right? Josh Kelly's not going on the main video, so I'll just talk about this fight now. I don't know nothing about Flavius Bayer. Um, Romanian. I'm going to assume this is like one of those fight before the fight type scenarios. So I am going to give this one to Josh Kelly. I'm taking a look at Bayer. He knocked out against Valentin Golovko back in 2017. TKO in the 12th round. Other than that, that's the only loss he's ever had, but he's fought a lot of people with losing records or 50-50 records. So all I'm really trying to think is Josh going to win this by stoppage or is he going to win this on points? Knowing Josh Kelly, I think he's going to win this on points. So that's the way we're going with it. We're going to go Josh Kelly on points for that one. Right. So that is all of the Friday stuff. Now let's get to Saturday. Um, let's start with the Callum Simpson card because I can't believe that card feels like an afterthought to every. I've only just seen this morning any promo about that fight, and it was something Callum Simpson listening to emotional messages from friends and family before. I haven't seen like a gloves are off. I haven't seen any shoulder program footage. I've seen nothing about that fight. Obviously, I know that the Fabio Wardley fight is kind of taking all of the shine and the headlines and stuff, but yeah, there's just it feels like even Sky have said, yeah, we ain't about this. Like, just throw it out there, put as little money into it as possible. But I'm gonna take a look at this. All right, let's take a look at this card. um. All right, Mauro Silva versus Amir Rodriguez. Oh, I recognize Mauro Silva, the Portuguese one. What's his name? They only got a nickname like Super Mario or something like that. From from Manchester, but born in Portugal. I remember. Yeah, I've seen him before. He's decent. Not much power, but he's got pretty good technique. So yeah, I think he'll get the win over Omar Rodriguez. Sam Hickey 2-0 against Harley Hodgetts. Yeah, I'm gonna give Sam the victory there. I think Sam will win that fight on points. Um, can't tell you why. Just think that will be the case. Uh, Ellis Price, Jake Price. No idea who either of them are. Right, Kane Baker against Frankie Stringer. Yeah, I think Frankie Stringer is as much as he's not got any power, but he's got pretty good fundamentals. Uh, he's decent. He's very he's technically sound. He's not special in any dimension, but he's technically sound. So I think he'll win that, but it's going to be a bit grueling for him because I do think Kane Baker will stay on his feet. I don't think he'll hit the deck in this one. Stringer's only got one KO, so I can't see that being an issue. Reese Edwards versus Thomas Asomba. Now this is actually this is a pretty good fight, but forgetting the fact that Asomba's got 9 losses. He's one of those ones that if you're not really doing what you need to be doing, like he will cause an upset. But that being said, though, Reese Edwards, not big on power, hasn't really got that going for him, but he's tough and he does fight. He fights like a guy that's got power, and I think that would be enough to keep Asomba honest. Who's also someone who's not really much power, so you know that this fight's getting the distance. I'm going to give it to Reese Edwards. I do think it would be a points job, um, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's a split decision. Next, we got Adam Azim versus Elliot Chavez. Now, this fight only got announced, what was it, 2 days ago? So you know that they've pretty much just dug up Chavez. He may be Mexican, and we all know that you don't really take a Mexican on short notice, but he looked pretty limited from what I've seen, and he did get knocked out by Lucas Bardi, who ain't nothing special. So I'm assuming he's only over here for a payday. Um, so yeah, I think Adam Azim is going to get the win. I think he's going to get the win probably inside 4 rounds. That's what I would expect on that one. Mark Jeffers against Sean Hemphill. Sean Hemphill, I've not heard of before. Actually, no, I have heard of him. He was an Olymp. Was he an? He was a standout amateur in America. I remember Sean him, standout amateur. Um, got knocked out by David Stevens in it was a battle of the unbeaten at the time, and that sort of derailed him a bit. And then he fought William Skull like 2 or 3 fights after that. So I remember him. It would be interesting to see what he's got left. If he's still got any of his old amateur skills about him, then this would be an interesting fight for Mark Jeffers. Again, Mark Jeffers isn't the biggest of punchers, so Hemphill, I don't think he's going to have to worry too much about getting knocked out or stopped. But this should be an interesting fight. I'm gonna go just slightly to Mark Jeffers. I'm gonna go on points. I think he will get a points victory there. But I think it's gonna be a close points victory. I don't think it's gonna be a runaway. You might get one of those mad scorecards, but I think it will be fairly close. Most people watching will be able to see it that way as well. Okay, so that's the end of that undercard there. Let's move to the most valuable prospects card. And I'm only literally going to talk about 2 fights on this one. You know what? I think I might do the main event on this one as well, and then just also mention it in the video tomorrow morning. I'm trying to think. The only people on the card that I actually know is Brie Howland and Beatrice Ferreira. I haven't seen any of the others. Let me see. Have I seen Tony Aguilar? No. Yeah, I can only really talk about Brie Howland versus Naomi Cardenas Gomez. Both 8-0. I've seen Naomi before. She's definitely a slugger. You wouldn't think it to look at her, but she's the slugger. Brie Howland is not the boxer. She's a fighter. She's transitioned to boxing from kickboxing, so you already know she's very tough. Very good Canadian kid, but she's gonna be the one trying to display skills, precision, timing, movement, whereas Naomi is going to be just barreling forward, trying to get those rough and rugged shots out over the top, making it just a really dirty, ugly fight. Shout out to Aaron Daly. I see him in the building saying Brie Howland with the love heart eyes. Yeah, look, I won't lie to you. Brie Howland is she's a talented fighter, and yes, she is definitely a good looking female fighter. And as Aaron said, Eddie should have signed her over Sky. I'm surprised that, obviously, I know that he's not as focused in the women's game as he was, but she started to come out at that time where he was looking for the female talent, and she was extremely marketable. She's pretty, she's well spoken, she can fight, she's aggressive, without saying it in a rude way. Like, obviously, she will be able to sell herself, similar to Sky Nicholson, but she's just more action packed. So It's yeah, very surprising why he never had any interest in that move. But Naomi Cardenas and Brie Howland, I think this is going to be a tough fight for both. Um, they're both in there with the best person they've either faced, and I think that is going to be where we see the class. I think Brie Howland's going to be able to control Naomi from about the third round on. Those first two rounds, I feel like she's going to be under pressure, but I think maybe one good solid shot will may calm Naomi down enough where she can just start to move finals angles, hit on the retreat, sort of box off the pivot, and just show some of that, those in and out front foot skills that you normally see from people that transition from kickboxing to boxing. Um, so I'm going to go with Brie Howland to win. I think it's going to be a tight fight. It's a 6 rounder, so don't be surprised if you get like a 4-2. I think it might be a 4-2, or you might even get like a 3-2 and a one even card. So it ends up being like a 50, like a 58-57, and then 58-56. Those kind of cards. Um, Brie will definitely lose a round or two in here, but she's got to make sure that she doesn't lose. She can't lose the first round. If she can lose the second, she can't lose the first, because if she lets Naomi get that momentum, it's going to be a problem. But I think that she will come through the fight. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if I saw a draw. Since they are both undefeated, it also won't look too bad on their records if they get the draw. The same as Nat Dove and Nayeli Rodriguez did the other day, and you kind of go your separate ways, go fight for them titles, and then come back to it. So that's kind of what I'm looking at there. I think Brie Howland will win, but it will be a very close fight. Uh, Shout out to Aaron says, yeah, Brie is way more entertaining, back foot or front foot, very skillful. Yes, 100% agree with you. Okay, now okay, I'm gonna give this prediction on the main video, but I will say I do think Beatrice Ferreira is gonna win. I'll maybe give a bit more of a breakdown as to how I think she's gonna win on the main video. Um, but yeah, I've seen Ferreira. She's good, but I feel like she will bend to the will of Beatrice Ferreira. She's good being sort of like front foot and being able to take her time and set shots. But when it comes to actually like having to dog it out or being there with someone that's winging it back, someone that's actually coming to not coming to so much lay down and look for that paycheck, that's actually coming to fight. I think that's where the problem's going to be. Um, Beatrice has just been in there with the better quality of people from the amateurs to the pros. Even in a short space of time as a pro, she's been in there with much better opposition. So yeah, I think this is going to be almost like a little coming out party for Beatrice. The interesting thing will be, even though she is still signed to Matchroom have loaned her to most valuable prospects for this card. Is that in possible place of maybe giving her a slot on one of these cards moving forward? Is she maybe going to get allowed to leave Matchroom for MVP? Which wouldn't make much sense right now, considering they don't have any 135 pounders um, on the roster just yet. But that being said, I mean, we don't know what's going on with Sky. Who knows? Maybe Caroline Dubois. She was talking online about she loves to see what MVP are doing for women's boxing. Maybe she might migrate over there, and if she does, that's the place where Beatrice has got to go to get that fight and make that fight. Also, Terry Harper was saying in the interview the other day, I don't know how much time she's got left on the Matchroom deal, but she was saying about speaking up and sometimes maybe asking or demanding for what she wants rather than just accepting. So I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe they might all go over there and you get that little round robin going. But yeah, Beatrice for the win is the pick. Um, let's see what card to do next. All right, so let's do the. We might as well do the Fabio Wardley card. and then we'll talk about Keyshawn. All right, let's switch up the. We've had that intro music. Let's switch it up a little bit. Okay, so all right. So on this undercard, you got Lewis Richardson versus Dimitri Prokopis. Obviously, I know Lewis Richardson, very highly touted amateur standout for Queensbury. This is his first fight as a pro. So they've got him an absolute walkover. 8-20-1, 6 rounder. Yeah, can't really say much more. Lewin, I expect him to win. I think he'll win on points. I don't think he's not really a big puncher like that, so I don't expect him to get the stoppage. Could be wrong, but I'm going to go points on that. Okay, on your Ipswich predictions, you got to take possible rain into account. I mean, yes, you know what? That's right. Especially if they've got one of them stupid printed on canvases. I mean, the painted on ones instead of the printed on ones. Because if that's the case, then yeah, it could be Slip City. Um, Lily Winch against Katerina Zorokova. Yeah, I think Lily's got that fight in the bag. To be honest, I'm seeing I'm seeing a decision fight there, but Lily's pretty. I've seen her fight a couple times, so she's pretty good. Um, 60% chance of rain for main event right now. Oof. Okay, go on through it, man. Like slip switch. I like it. Yeah, slip switch. Let's see. Okay, so Sam Gilly against Gideon Onyanani. Um, is that Gideon? I recognize his face, but aka Gideon Jonas. Oh, that's why I recognize his face because he fought Jimmy Sains last month. He lost on points. Actually, that was a pretty decent fight. Um, that's an interesting one. But what I will say, I mean, Sam Gilly 19 pro fights to his 12. Obviously, he's lost 5 of his 12. Sam's only lost one of his, and obviously that was to Danny Ball back in 2021. Um, yeah, I can't as much as I thought Onyanani did quite well in that fight in the previous fight against Jimmy Sains. I'm going with Sam Gilly. I think that's a fairly comfortable prediction. Um, I'm going to go on points. I don't think he's going to get that stoppage. All right, Nelson Heiser versus Patrick Corte. Now Heiser is a pretty decent boxer. Funny, I was saying the other day that if you wanted someone for depth to put on your roster, especially like Matchroom who didn't have anybody, he actually wasn't a bad shout. Um, Albanian, 6 foot. I think he's 6'3" or 6'4". He's like a slightly smaller heavyweight, but he's quite good with the movement. Now he is 40, so you might have him on there for depth, but it won't be for he's not going to be around for long. But Patrick Corte, um, he's a slugger. If he catches you, he'll hurt you, but he's also pretty susceptible to getting dropped as well. Primarily because he is such a hard hitter, so he throws a lot into the shots, leaving himself exposed. And obviously that forward momentum, bang, when both of them collide, it just causes problems. But yeah, I can see Haisar winning this fight. I see him winning. I actually see him winning a stoppage. I do think he will get the stoppage, and I think it will be. Um, I think it might be one of the best knockouts of the weekend. I'm gonna put that one out there now. Possible. We'll wait and see. Mike Perez versus Stephen Ward. Now this is a very interesting fight. I mean, look, Perez has been around for donkey's years, and he's not even boss 40 yet, officially. I mean, I don't know if that's, if his real age is more than that, but yeah, former cruiserweight just kind of dipped off, and now he's coming back. He's saying, "Boy, like let's run it up at heavy." Um, Look, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. Wait, I'm trying to think. Are they? Is he actually fighting this fight at cruiserweight, or is Steve? I'm sure Stephen Ward's coming up for this fight. I could be wrong there. Maybe he's not fighting at heavy on this one. Maybe they were doing maybe they're doing a little catch weight. But yeah, look, this fight. I mean, Mike Perez is obviously the much better skilled guy of the two, but I feel like Stephen Ward's been a little bit more active, especially as of late. Um, but them Cuban skills, man, like he only lost to like the top guys in those divisions: Bryant Jennings, Alexander Povetkin, Maris Briedis. So yeah, I knew he had a few fights up at heavy. Clearly, he's lost some weight. Has gone down to cruiser. I wonder if he's getting back up to heavy. I'm not sure. I'll have to double check. But yeah, I think Perez wins. I actually think Perez will stop him. I think Perez will stop Stephen Ward. Um, it'll be interesting while while it happens. But yeah, I think he'll just be too talented ultimately. That's kind of how I'm seeing that one. Pierce O'Leary against Liam Dillon. Now, this would be a good fight. Liam Dillon, he's not really a hard puncher, but he's got a very good work rate and he's got a pretty good chin as well. Um, so he'll make Pierce O'Leary work for as long as the fight lasts. But I do think that Pierce O'Leary gets to him, and I think he gets to him in the mid to late rounds. I do think he stops him. Um, I reckon it might even be with a body shot, and then the ref decides to wave it off. Maybe he gets dropped more than once in the round, and the ref just decides that's enough's enough. But I can see the first couple of rounds being really sort of busy with O'Leary having to try and fight him off and sort of keep his timing. But when Dillon starts to slow down a little bit, I feel like that's where O'Leary's gonna strike and have his best moments. So I will go with Pierce O'Leary to win that fight. Um, Actually, no. Do you know what? I'm going to be conservative, not a stoppage. I think he's going to go the distance. I think Dillon's going to. I think he'll push him to the distance. If he does get a stoppage, it will be late because it's a 12 rounder. I think it will be rounds between rounds 10 to 12 if a stoppage comes. But I'm going to go with Pierce O'Leary on points instead of knockout. That's what I said in the predictions league before I came on, and that's what I'm deciding. I'm gonna stick with that. I'm not gonna deviate. And that's the end of that undercard. Now shout out to James, who says Selfa Barrett fighting on Saturday too. He's actually fighting on the zone. I've seen the card. It literally came up on my feed the other day. I'm not going into that card, to be totally honest with you. Yeah, I'm glad that Zelfa's getting back out. Obviously, I think he's now with who's he now with? He's with Dave. No, I mean Joe. Sorry, Joe Gallagher. So be interesting to see what the partnership looks like. But yeah, I'm not going into that card. That's too much. I haven't got the time or the energy. Um, and that's all of the UK side of the Saturday cards. Now let's look at Keyshawn Davis versus Edwin De Los Santos card. I almost feel like putting Abdullah Mason in the main picks video, but um, I can't lie. I think I wanted when I next talk to Eddie Hearn, I've got to ask him: does he regret not accepting Keyshawn Davis's terms? All Keyshawn asked was that, all right, if you sign me, just sign my brothers as well. I don't see why that's such a, you ain't got to put them on no mad money, Kelvin and Keon. But for not doing that, you've missed out on probably one of the most bankable US stars of the future. Don't get me wrong, Andy Cruz is amazing. I think he's one of the best boxers out right now. But he's a small guy, and he only speaks Spanish, but he's not Mexican Spanish. He's Cuban Spanish, which doesn't have that very big demographic in the US. You could have had both. Like, not having Keyshawn on the Matchroom roster was one. That's one of Eddie's biggest mistakes, in my opinion, of the last like 4 or 5 years. Don't get me wrong, he's had some howlers, but in terms of like not accepting a talent on the roster, that's got to be one of the biggest ones because Keyshawn Davis is money. Anyway, let's take a look at this undercard. So Troy Isley's on the undercard. Okay. Atundi Michelle William. Right. Well, I expect Isley to win this, but he's got to be careful because Isley ain't a puncher. He's only got like 4 or 5 knockouts on the record. He's very good sitting in the pocket, but from Atundi Williams' record, he's got 12 KOs in his 16 victories. Now, I'm sure that a lot of them would have been like he's Brazilian. Was he fighting a lot of? Let me see. Okay, so that fight's in the US. That fight looks like it's in Mexico. Mexico. Okay, so he's fought quite a few fights in Mexico, and even if they ain't got the skill set, them guys are strong and sturdy and durable. So, yeah, Troy Isley might have to be careful because the power is there. You don't just want to be slipping, riding, and rolling on the inside against guys that can crack. Um, but I'm going to go with Troy Isley to win. I'm going to go with him to win a unanimous decision, but he's got to stay super switched on. Keon Davis against Michael Velez Garcia. I mean, yeah, Keon's got that. Both 3-0, but there's levels to the 3-0. I definitely think Keon. Yeah, I think he's gonna whoop ass on that one, as they say. Tiger Johnson on this against Nelson Figueroa Boca Chica. Um 17 3-1, 11 KOs and 17 victories. Um, Delonte is 15-0, 7 KOs. I mean, I think Tiger Johnson's a good fighter. Hasn't got the power that I initially thought he had, but he's put together. He does everything. He does everything well. Like nothing spectacular, but everything well. So I'm gonna go with Tiger Johnson to win that one. Yuri Sedano versus Abel Minna. Never heard of either of them, so I can't, in good conscience, give a prediction there. But Abdullah Mason versus Jeremiah Nakatia. Now, as good as Abdullah is, and I think he's phenomenal. I think he's one of the future stars of the US game. A guy that comes in to bring the war, bring the pain, like good footwork, beautiful combinations, power, like a really good defense, but he has got those lapses to switch off, which obviously we saw in that insane fight that he had with what's his name? With was it Manuel? I think it was Manuel Jaimes, wasn't it? The 16-2 guy, where he got dropped twice in the fight. Um, round he got dropped in the first round, and I think it was the first round and the third, something like that, or the first and the second. That was a fight that, yeah, um, crazy fight, but that showed some of the defensive frailties that he can have when he does have lapses in concentration. Because the defense, for the most part, is really good. Um, Everything about his game, I think is top notch. But obviously, you've got to stay switched on, and you can't always be going for the knockout time after time after time. Sometimes you just gotta let it settle a little bit. But yeah, that was a that was a very good fight. Oh no, so it was the Johan Vasquez fight, 26. Not Manuel Jaimes. Yeah, the Vasquez fight. That was a yeah. That had to have been. one of the fights of the year. Mason down twice in the first round, Vasquez down once in round one, and then again in round two. Brilliant. It was just brilliant action. 2 rounds of absolute carnage. But yeah, Nakatila, I do think that Abdullah's going to have to stay switched on. Nakatila is a very, very strong puncher. Um, and he's only really been beat by either the best guys or the guys that are on the way up, like Ernesto Mercado, Raymond Muataya, Shakur Stevenson. Although Stevenson was very negative in that fight, and obviously had a majority decision loss a lot earlier in his career. Evgeny Sheprovkov, 23-4, so he probably had a little bit of a decent amateur background to him as well. But yeah, Nakatila, he's going to be game, and I actually think he's going to cause Abdullah Mason some problems in those early rounds, the first 2-3 rounds. I think Abdullah's going to feel the power, whether it's on the glove, on the arm, and decide, all right, I need to play this game smart. But he's good at adapting. I've seen it. He won't just sit in the pocket. He does have the ability to play the outside as well. So I do see him being able to work from the outside and kind of get into range and slowly just start to beat from the body. I can see him. Yeah, I can see him stopping Nakatila. Not easily. It will be late. Um, we're talking after the ninth round. It'll be nine or later. Don't see him getting him out of there earlier than that. If he does, I'll be really surprised. But it's going to be a very, very tough fight for Abdullah Mason. And he said he's been calling that Keyshawn Davis. He says if once he gets through this fight, he was gonna call that Keisha. He wants to fight for the title. I think it's a bit too soon for him to be fighting for a title, but I will watch it. And you know what? I'm not gonna take anything away from him daring to be great, knowing that he's already taken some fairly interesting fights this time in his career, and he's only like what 22, just turned 22 as well. So no, actually, no, I think he's still 21. Um, so yeah, look, shout out to Abdullah Mason. I will definitely be locked into that in between watching Money in the Bank. Okay, now I believe the chief support for this fight is Kelvin Davis against Nahir Albright. Interesting fight here. Like Nahir Albright, I feel like he's had a couple of decisions go against him. Look, first one was obviously, it was a debut 4 rounder. It can happen, but it was a majority decision. I won't really look too much on that. The Jermaine Ortiz fight was very controversial. A lot of people think he beat Ortiz in that fight. Obviously, he got beat by Keyshawn Davis, but that fight got changed into a no contest when Keyshawn tested positive for marijuana and post-fight drug test. So, yeah, that fight got turned into a no contest. But Kelvin, I mean, look, Kelvin's a good fighter, but I think Nahir Albright is. I think this is might be the banana skin of the weekend. The only issue I have with Albright hasn't been active. Not since 2023, not since the Keyshawn fight. That might have played in his benefit, but I think that's going to be the reason why Kelvin manages to just about pull this one out the bag. I'm going to go with Kelvin Davis to win on points. I think it will be close though. I think that Albright will actually come into the fight towards the later rounds, and maybe Kelvin's got to manage the range, manage the rounds, manage the energy reserves. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Kelvin to win a points decision, but it's going to be, for me, it's going to be a very close, contested fight. Okay, so that is now the end of the Saturday cards and the undercards. Now we're going to go to Sunday, and we're going to go to Japan first, because I know a lot more people on the Tasman Fighters card. So let's see. So I know that they got Tenshin Nasukawa versus Victor Santillan, um, 14-1 against 0. Tenshin does fight a decent level of opposition, for his skill set is as a boxer. Obviously, as a kickboxer, he pretty much did everything like World Star, transitioned over, doing sort of taking it a bit at a time, bit at a time. I I'm gonna give Tenshin. I think he will win this fight, especially considering Victor isn't necessarily a big puncher. I actually think Tenshin could potentially get his third stoppage, but I'm going conservative and I'm going to say he will win this one on points like he's won the last couple. Um, Rico Matsuda against Michelle Banquez. Let me see. Is this the Matsuda I recognize? 27. Yes, I do recognize him. I remember his fight with Seiya Satsumi. I knew I recognized his name. Um, and it's funny because I actually predicted against him in his previous fight against Matsumoto. And yeah, he definitely surprised me in that one. So uh, Matsuda is taking on Michelle Banquez. Let's see what he's from Venezuela. No one on. Oh, Roman Cardenas. Okay, Antonio Vargas as well. Those are the only names I recognize off the top of my head. Okay, yeah, Rico Matsuda. I'm gonna go with Matsuda. I'm gonna go with him via way of stoppage as well. I think he's gonna knock out Banquez. Debut for Rico Miyashita against Toya Ashima, who is also a debutant. So I'm leaving that one alone. Never seen either of them. Um, and then what's this fight here? Uh, Tran Van Tao from Vietnam against Tomoyo Subo. 1-0, 1 KO. And Van, sorry, is 18-1. Okay, so 18-1 against 1-0, but Tran has been inactive. So they've clearly tried to get him for a reason. Okay, so I'm gonna go with Tomoyo Subo for that fight. I think he will probably. Yeah, I think he's the one that they've got high hopes for. And it's a dangerous fight to take in your second pro fight, but I'll give him that one. Okay, now let's move over to Tasman Fighters. Um, the Jaya Pattaya undercard, because there's a few names on this one that I recognize. Um, Speaking of which, I was supposed to do an interview with Jaya. I spoke to he's got a new publicist. He told me to get in contact with. I spoke to him. I've been waiting for him to slot me in for an interview. I was hoping to do it before the fight because I had some questions to ask about the Claudio Squayo opposition, but maybe I'll have to talk about it a bit afterwards. But yeah, okay, so let's take a look at this one. So obviously we've got Terra Moana taking on Lewis Masters. I mean, look, if I'm gonna be real, look, it's a 4-round fight, but Terra Moana 7-0. This guy's 3-9. Is it really? Is there any point? I know obviously you gotta kind of just get who you can get, but he's not gonna get rounds. He's gonna, he. I think he gets knocked out in the first round. It doesn't go past 2. Yeah, they gotta. Unless you're gonna literally just send him everywhere and have him fighting like once every 3 weeks or once a month, you can't waste one of his camps on this level of opposition. Um, and most of his fights have been 6 rounders. Why is he going back to doing a 4-rounder? It's not. Yeah, that was not great. But the less said, the better. You guys have heard my opinion. Um, Right, Mariah Turner. I do know Mariah Turner against Leah Rubin. Um, Obviously, Turner, she's aggressive. She's very, very aggressive. She's a very fun fighter to watch. If anyone has a chance to watch the prelims, check her out. 9-1, 5 KOs. She goes with the gusto. Um, doesn't take much shit. So I think that'll be a good fight while it lasts. But obviously, Leah Rubin she's 1-1-1. So again, it's a bit of a poor matchmaking because you've got a 3 fight novice taking on like a ten fight fringe contender. Um, yeah, I don't like it personally, especially considering that she already fought Mariah Turner. Um, like I think she fought her back in April. I don't even know why they're running it back. Um, but yeah, I know it must just be for activity, but yeah, that's a bit of a poor one as well. But Max McIntyre against Rakea Warren, that's going to be an interesting fight. McIntyre is a super middle. He's a guy, obviously, that they're kind of pinning their hopes on over sort of that part of the world in those divisions. He's a good fighter, and he goes for the knockout, and most of the time he gets it. I think he's like, what is he, 7-0 now, 6 KOs. Um, he's definitely coming to throw hands. But Rakea Warren, I mean, look, he's also 5-0, 4 KOs. Not as much pro experience. Doesn't have as high a ceiling, I think, as Max McIntyre does. But he's game. He's tough. He will come to fight. Um, I think McIntyre gets that one done. I think he gets it done in the between rounds 4 and 6. I think that stoppage does happen though. Um, yeah. Then we've got so you got Connor Wallace against Dylan Collin, who is French. I saw their pre-fight workouts the other day. I know he lost his last fight to Daniel Lappin. I remember seeing that fight. Lappin got a unanimous decision. I felt like the scorecards were a little bit harsh. I do feel like he won like 7 to maybe 8 rounds, but I feel like the scorecards could have been a little bit more generous to Dylan Collin. But overall, he's gonna come to fight. Um, I think he's gonna try to draw Connor Wallace into an exchange. But sometimes when Connor does that, he does have a habit of letting his chin lift up a bit, and he can be caught like he was in his last fight. Um, but he can also, if he decides to box this fight from range, Dylan Collins hasn't got much of a chance against him. So if he decides to play this one smart and doesn't fight with his heart and fight just for the roar of the crowd, I think it will be a fairly comfortable night for him. If he tries to get involved, that's where the problems is going to be. Um, I, Daniel Keating, I don't know, never seen him before. Uh, Tyler Blizzard, I have seen, but I don't know enough about him or his opponent to properly give an answer, so I won't. Uh, Ben Mahoney's on the fight card. Um, who's he taking on? Eddie Colmenares. Um, I remember watching Mahoney's last fight against, I think it was the Fang Zhang fight. That fight was actually very interesting. Zhang kind of gave him a lot more than he was asking for. Although the scorecards, there was all like 100-90 scorecards, which I disagreed with. Um, I think Zhang did do some good work. I think he should have got at least 2 rounds from the judges for some of the stuff. He applied constant pressure, and at times he did have Ben Mahoney a little bit nervous. But I'll be interested to see what Ben does. Eddie Colmenares, haven't seen him. 9-2-1. All 9 of his victories to come by KO. Okay, another Venezuelan. So ultimately, you got to basically be careful of the counter. I think that's the only way I can really see it. But yeah, giving that one to Ben Mahoney. Um, and that's it pretty much for the undercards, folks. Um, yeah, that was interesting. I hope you guys enjoyed. Um, let me know. This might be something we definitely decide to do again. Um, but I'm gonna leave it for the couple minutes. We're gonna do as we do sign outs because this is obviously basis pick sign out music. I will be recording the other video when I come off of this one. I may just have to check on the dog, see if he needs to go out. But other than that, I will be ready to record that. So um, Qatar beating Iran. Iran got a guy sent off. Interesting. Oh, they scored the goals right after the guy got sent off. Okay, interesting. All right, last couple of comments. Vasily Lomachenko, obviously. I'm not sure if I said this to you already, Veritas, but shout out to you. Salute for being in the building. Bath Boy, who you got? Callum Simpson or Zuko? That will be revealed tomorrow. So look out for that video tomorrow. Thoughts on Loma's retirement? It was inevitable, to be honest. Look, he's getting older. The injuries are starting to pile up, and he's got nothing else really to prove. And I think in his mind, he knows that he's too good to just be like a stepping stone for someone else, especially when he remembers how good he was. So, yeah, in my opinion, I think that's ultimately what the situation is. Um, I think he will do well in retirement. I don't know if he doesn't look like the kind of guy that will stick around though. I can't really see him being a trainer or anything like that. Um, but yeah, shout out to Lomachenko. All right, 1 minute left. Getting those last set of comments. You want them read out. But salute to all that have joined in. Thank you very much for being here. Obviously, we've got the main event video that will come tomorrow. I'm not sure if it was going to come in the morning at lunchtime or if it's going to come in the evening yet, but it will definitely be out tomorrow in time for all the good stuff. Philip, it was about time he made the decision because after Cambosi was doing literally nothing, just holding the belt. I hear you. But all right, look, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. But until tomorrow, Spaces Undercard Picks locked.